This is Gemara in Sotah, Daf Yod Ches. So we pick it up in the top line of Daf Yod Ches as we're in the middle of discussing different elements of the writing of the Megillas Sotah. On the bottom of Yidzayin and Beis, we dealt with the fact that the has to be written on the Mishnah already taught us has to be written on a Megillah. The Gemara taught us if it's written Lamafreya, it's no good. If it's written before the Shvuah is accepted, it's no good. If it's written without sirtot, without lines, it's no good. And now in the top of Yeches Amud Aleph continues the Gemara. Kasva al shnei dafim psula. If it's written on two different pages, which actually means two columns, like a Sefer Torah, as the top Rashi points out, then that is possible. Why? Because Sefer Echad Amar Achmana v'lo shnayim u'shleisha sfarim. And now this is din number 6. Kasva ois achas u'machak ois achas v'kasav ois achas u'machak ois achas psula. If you wrote, you erased, you wrote, you erased, you wrote, you erased, then that is a problem. Meaning you write an aleph, you erase the aleph and you rewrite it. Then you write the base, you erase it and you rewrite it. So even though you now have all the text, but it was written in an erased and erased manner, that is possible to say v'asala hakoyin it's kol ha'torah hazois. So those are 6 dinim that deal with the writing of the 6 dinim that deal with the writing of the 6 dinim that deal with the writing of the Sotah. So Ba'i Rava continues the Gemara. Kasav Beis Megillos. If you read in 2 Megillos, the Shtei Sotahs, so now we have a bunch of shaylas trying to figure out what is the story. So says Rava, if you wrote 2 different Megillah Sotahs for 2 different people, very good. But it was dissolved, it was erased into one kais, into one cup of water. What is the din ma'u? Ksiva lishma binan v'ika. The writing itself was lishma, so everything is good. It has to also be erased lishma, and it was not erased lishma because they were both erased together. So it wasn't erased specifically for each person. If you're going to tell me lishma, be erased for that person. What is the status? If it was indeed erased in 2 different cups, meaning it was erased for each person appropriately, but then it was chazar v'irvan. Then they 2 were mixed up. Mechika lishma b'ina and v'ika, and therefore you have the mechika, you have the erasing lishma, so it should be good. But at the end of the day, each one is not drinking from the water that their Megillah was dissolved into because they were mixed together afterwards. So maybe that is a problem. Continues Rava. Each one is not drinking from her own cup. So chazar v'chalkan mahu. If after you combine the 2 cups, then you split them, and each one drinks, what is it in? Do we say yesh breira? So we can say retroactively, it's been clarified that this is the right one. Oyein breira, and therefore we do not know. Says the Gemara, we're gonna have to wait for Eliyahu and Avi for this one. Teku b'siyata d'shmaya. We'll figure out the entire list of these shaylos. We continue in the Gemara. Ba'i Rava. Continues Rava asking, Hashaka Hishka B'siv Mahu. What is the story? If she drank in a sieve, so Rashi all the way to the top of the Amud translates the sieve as halal. Kederech Shati Noikai Shaisen, a type of straw, type of bast. What is the din? Or bishvay feres mahu, or she drank through a tube. That's mamish straw. Derech shtia bekach, oin derech shtia bekach. Says the Gemara, is this a normal way of drinking or not? And does this suffice? Teku as well. We have to wait for Eliyahu Navi. So by Rav Ashi, a third shayla. Nishpchu mehen v'nishtayru mehen mahu. They prepared everything fine and then it spilled. You spilled the cup, but there's still some water left. So is the din that the requisite amount has to be in the preparation, but you can drink any amount? Or you have to drink every bit of the water? Says the Gemara as well, take And now we continue into the next part of the proceedings, which is the Shvuah that the Kohen makes the Sotah take. So says the Gemara, Amar Rav Zera, Amar Rav, Beis Shvuos Hamurais B'Sotah Lama. If we look at the Psukim, we'll see clearly that it mentions two different Shvuos. So says the Gemara, what are these Shvuos? Achas Koidim Shenimcha Megillah, V'achas La'achar Shenimcha. So says Rav Zera in the name of Rav, you know the two Shvuos are, one before the Megillah is erased, and then they make her swear again after the Megillah is erased. But Maskiv, that's how Rav Zera Merav learned. But Maskiv la Rava is not so happy. Tarvayu koidim shenimcha Megillah ksivan. Says Rav, I don't understand. But if you look at the Torah, both psukim are written before the Megillah is erased. Both Shvuos. So how could you, Rav Zera Merav, learn that the two Shvuos is one before the Megillah is erased, one after? The psukim seemingly clearly tell the story that they're both before the Megillah was erased. So Ela Amar Rava, so Rava disagrees with Rav Zera Merav. And Rava has a different shot in the two Shvuos. Says Rava, Acha Shvuah Sheishi Ma'ala, V'acha Shvuah She'eni Ma'ala. 3 lines from the white line, says Rava, one Shvuah contains within an Allah, a curse, and one Shvuah does not contain within a curse. So says the Gemara, what exactly is this Shvuah that contains an Allah with it? Amar Rav Amram Amar Rav, Mashbiani Alecha Shaloi Nitmeis. Says Rav Kahana in the name of Rav, you know what the Shvuah that contains within an Allah is? The Kohen says, I make a Shvuah that you were not nitmeis, that you did not commit the crime. She'en nitmeis, because if you did, on the last narrow line, yavayu bich, the water should enter into you and make you blow up. So the Allah is basically the flip side. Make a shvuah that you didn't do this deed, and if you did, yavayu bich, the water is going to enter into you. So Amar Rava says no in the first white line. Allah l'chudei kaima, shvuah l'chudei kaima. Says Rava, what you just said is not Allah and a shvuah, not a swearing and a curse. This is a shvuah that is separate from the Allah. It's two different entities. Make a shvuah that you didn't do it, and if you did it, then you get the curse. So it's not two of the same. Elamar Rava. So rather, Rava argues in the second white line, and he says, Mashbi'ani olecha she'init meis yavayu bich. A minor nuance, but the world of a difference. Says Rava, make a shvuah that if you were nitmeis, then the water will enter into you. But on Rav Ashi is not happening. Says Rav Ashi, Ali ika shvuah leka. Now this is all one big curse. There's no shvuah at all. You're saying that it's a wording of a shvuah, but it all just means it's a curse. So Elam Rav Ashi, 3 lines at the bottom, Mashbi'ani olecha sheloi nitmeis. Make a shvuah that you didn't do it. Ve'im nitmeis. And, not if. And if you did the crime, then yavayu bich. And that and is the world of a difference, because now the person is under both dinim. It's the shvuah with the Allah together with it. Again, the fine nuance between Rav Ashi and Rava is a little bit difficult, but that is the machlokes. We continue on the bottom of Yud Ches Amud Aleph with a Mishnah, which continues the story that the Kohen tells the woman the shvuah. What does the woman respond? Amen v'amen. Says the Gemara, Amahi oimeres amen amen. Not amen v'amen, excuse me. On what does the woman say? Amen amen. So explains the Mishnah that this double amen is the way that the husband is allowed to make this woman include in the shvuah other actions that he might have suspected her on. Amen on Allah, amen ala shvuah. So the first pshat is the bashtis. What does 2 amens mean? That the woman affirms both the shvuah and the Allah. But continues the Mishnah on the last line and explaining, no, you know what else it means? That she says, I didn't do a crime with this man nor another man. So let's look at the last Rashi over here. The Rashi really tells us what's going on. Rashi says, Rashi is going to the next line, so let's just finish reading. The Mishnah continues, Amen shaloi shatisi, arusa unisua. Amen, that I did not, Sotisi means went off the derech astray while I was in a rusa, nor while I was an nisua. So says Rashi here, what does this mean? Arusa nisua yidei gilgul shvua. This is what we call a gilgul shvua. Now a gilgul shvua is, if you look at Rashi, 3 lines at the end of the Amanu, megalgul aznos shal irisin afal bishleya by kinoi. Gilgul shvua is a rule that once there's a obligation to swear, they're allowed to be required to swear on things that you're not normally able to obligate someone to swear upon. So like over here, you can't normally make someone swear that they didn't commit the crime during Erusin when they were engaged. But once the woman is obligated to make a shvuah, you're allowed to be megalgel. You're allowed to roll onto her other things in the shvuah. So explains the Mishnah that once she's making a shvuah, the husband's allowed to say, and also including here that you did not commit any crimes, you were not unfaithful during our erusin while we were engaged. Again, really there would not be a reason that she would be required to swear for something that she did during erusin. But once we're requiring her to make a shvuah, the husband is allowed to be megalgel, to roll onto her other things which she normally would not have to swear about. Continues the Mishnah as we turn over to Yerchasim Beis, V'shemeres Yavam, as well, amen, that you did not commit a crime while you're waiting for a Yibam in this scenario, as the Tab Rashi points out, that he's allowed to roll a shvuah. He also didn't commit a crime while you were awaiting the Yibam. Yishemeres Yavam Meknusa. Amen shlo nitmeisi, v'im nitmeisi yavayu bi. So amen that you did not do the crime, and if you did, yavayu bi, the water will enter into me. This is the woman talking of her saying that the water should enter into me and she will die the gruesome death. Rameir Aimer, amen shlo nitmeisi. The first amen is that she didn't commit the crime, and amen shlo etma. She says also that I will not commit a crime in the future. Hakol shav, but everyone agrees. She'ein masna yima. We don't include, we don't stipulate, we don't make this gilgul shvuah, we don't roll onto her a swearing. Loyal koidem shetis areis, not before there was erusin. Loyal achar shetis garesh, nor on after she got divorced. Nisra le'echad v'nitmeis. If she was secluded with one person, v'nitmeis, and she committed the aveira, v'achar kach, and afterwards echzira, and then what happens? That person remarries her. Lo yaisa masna yima. He's not allowed to stipulate with her concerning that the future will be included in that. Zaklau. So the Mishnah says, what's the rule that we can understand when there is this gilgul shvuah, when there's not this gilgul shvuah? Says the Mishnah, kol shetiboyel v'lo yisa asura law, that any scenario that if there would have been an aveira wouldn't create an iser, lo ha'isa masna yima. But in all other scenarios in which if she did the aveira they would be aser, then the husband is yes allowed to be masna yima. Then the husband is yes allowed to megalgel the shvuah onto her. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Hamnuna Yerchasim and Beis. Let's delve a bit deeper into this din of Shemeres Yavam. Amar Rav Hamnuna Shemeres Yavam Shezinsa Asura Liyabma. If a woman is awaiting Yibam, of course we know that Yibam is when a woman's husband dies and they did not have any children, then there is an obligation for her to either marry or to do chalitza, to sever the marriage to the husband's brother in order to try to establish the house of the deceased. So if while she is waiting Yibam, she is mizaneh with another person, the halacha is she's not allowed to do Yibam. This is a halacha that we learned about in Yevamos. Says the Gemara Mimai, Where do we know this halacha from? Midig Tani, from the fact that our Mishnah said Shemeres Yavam Mekunusa, that when the Shvuah of a Sotah, we're allowed to be megalgel onto her, we're allowed to roll onto her Shvuah, that while she's awaiting Yibam or after she already did Yibam. So Amr Bishlama Asira, if you're going to tell me that if she was Mizana, she becomes Asr, then it makes a lot of sense. Then you're allowed to include it in a Gilgul Shvuah, as we saw on the end of the Mishnah, that any time if she did commit the crime, there would be an Isser, then you create the Gilgul Shvuah. But if you're going to tell me, Lo Yasira, Hechi Masna Bada, you would not be able to be stipulating this with her, you would not be able to be Gilgul Shvuah. And today, Vatanan, as we just pointed out at the end of the Mishnah, Zaklal, Koshi Latibaya Lo Te Asura Lo Masna Ima. So proves the Gemara from our Mishnah, a din that we learned about in Yevamis, that if a woman, while awaiting Yibam, is mizaneh, the halacha is that she is forbidden to do yibum. Says the Gemara, what is the halacha? Amri b'marava, or about 14 lines down. The first one line is ima, less hilchos like Rav Hamnuna. Says not how we paskin. Al-hadik tani shemeres yavam ukunusa ha-mani is Rabbi Akiva. Who is the din in our Mishnah? The din in the Mishnah can't prove it because it's only according to Rabbi Akiva. Da'amar ein kedushin taifsin b'chayve lavin umash ki arva. Because Rabbi Akiva holds that if one tries to get married in a scenario where there's an isser, there's a lav, it doesn't work. The kedushin is not taifis. Of course, it's an aveira. But the question is, as we're going to get more into these concepts in kedushin, etc., of course, she's not allowed to do it. The question is, does it work? Says Rav Akiva, no. Therefore, according to Rav Akiva, it's considered an erva. But that would not bring a raya to everyone else, what they would hold by a woman who is Shemeres Yavam. Continues the Gemara, ruling on the din in the Mishnah, other cases, whether you can make a Gilgul Shvuah, Ba'i Ravi Yirmiyah. Asks Rav Yirmiyah, first one line is Yirma, Ma'u, she asked the Adam al Nisuin Arishainim, what is the story? Can one stipulate, can one make a Gilgul Shvuah regarding Nisuin Harishainim, which is a first marriage? What does it mean, a first marriage? That means there was a second marriage, which means he's married to a woman, he divorced her, and then he remarries her. And then in the second marriage, he has kinoi and he does tira to her. Now we have a story of a Sotah, and he's making her drink the waters. Is he allowed to now say, and also include that you were not unfaithful during our original marriage? Al nisui echav mahu. And what is the status for the marriage of his brother in a case of yibum? After they did yibum, the dekina yistira, can he say and also include that when you were married to the brother, you didn't do anything wrong? Tashema proves the Gemara from the Mishnah that says that klal koshet ibav lo te'asur lo lo yemasna ima hasira chanami demasna shmamina. But if it would create an isser, therefore we do have a raya that he could stipulate about nisuin arishainim and about nisuin of the brother. And we continue with the Gemara quoting the Mishnah, the din of Rameir in the Mishnah. This is 2 dots, smack in the middle of the Amid, approximately 20 lines from the bottom. Says the Gemara, Rameir Aimer Amein Shalai Nitmesi. Says Rameir Amein that she was not Nitmesi in the past, and Amein Shalo Etamei, that she will not become Nitmesi in the future. Says the Gemara Tanya, we learned in our Braisa, like when Rameir said that she makes a shvuah that I will not become nitma, I will not do an avir in the future, he does not mean she'im yitamei, that if she does indeed do an avira, mayim boitkin oisa me'achshav, that the water will test her now. It's not what he means. Elo, what did Rameir mean? Lichishati tamei mayin ma'arin oisa uboitkin oisa. That what it means is that the water will gurgle up, the water will come up into her throat, and she'll die then. Meaning not that in the waters are going to say that if she was going to do an Avera in the future, she'll be killed now, but rather when she eventually, unfortunately, does the Avera, the water that's left in her system will kill her on the spot. Says the Gemara by Rav Ashi, and with this we conclude. According to Rameir, Ketzon make it tonight, Ketzon make a Gilgal Shvua regarding marriage in the future to this woman. Do we say that right now he's not answer to her? But what do you mean? Maybe he'll divorce and remarry her. Sotah Shema proves the Gemara. Hakol Shav and everyone agrees. Lo yamasni ima, lo yakodim shetisares, lo alacha shetitgaresh, and not before they did erusin, nor after they will be divorced. Nistara lachar v'nitmeis. If she got divorced, and then what happens? She was nistara, then she did the avera vacha yachzirena, then they got remarried. Lo haya masne. He's not able to make it tonight now that in such a case in the future that it should be included in the shavua. Hayachzirenu v'titma. But what do we be medayik? We could learn out from over here that if he would first remarry her and then afterwards she would do the avera. Seemingly it could be included. So Shema Mina, we see that he would be able to include an eventual future marriage. So we're learning a fascinating chiddush according to Rameir that the Gilgal Shvua that we're discussing is not only for Averos that she did in the past, even she can make her swear now for an eventual Avera that she will do in the future, even if it will be after a future marriage. We'll pick up from Tanur Rabbana and when we conclude the Perek V'siyata D'Shmaya in the next Shir.